Good evening. I'd like to call the March 11th, 2026 meeting of the Camarillo City Council and the Camarillo Sanitary District to order. If the city clerk would call the roll, I'd appreciate it.
Councilmember Santangelo.
Here.
Vice Mayor Martinez Bravo.
Here.
Councilmember Kildy.
Here.
Councilmember Tremblay. Mayor Tennyson.
Here. And with that, I will ask the city attorney to read the items we have on closed session.
Yes, thank you. Mayor and council, we have 3 items on closed session. One is existing litigation under Government Code Section 54956.9D1, which is the OPV Coalition versus Fox Canyon. And then we have 2 matters under anticipated litigation subject to Government Code Section 54956.9D2. And if there's any reportable action, I'll make that report.
Thank you. And with that announcement, we will recess to closed session. Good evening. I'd like to reconvene the March 11th, 2026 meeting of the Camarillo City Council and the Camarillo Sanitary District to order. Let the record reflect, as I lose my voice, that all council members are present. Vice Mayor Martinez Bravo, would you lead us in the pledge?
Sure, please stand. Your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any changes to the agenda?
No.
Hearing none, we will move on to the next item, a presentation, and the Vice Mayor is going to read it for me.
Sure. We are doing a 2026 Las Personas Community Academy recognition. Tonight, we have the pleasure of recognizing a special group of community members who have recently completed the 2026 Las Personas Community Academy. The Community Academy is an interactive program designed to educate and engage residents on the roles and responsibilities of the city of Camarillo. It provides a behind-the-scenes look at how our city operates and empowers participants to become informed and involved members of our community. Tonight, we are recognizing the third graduating cohort of the annual academy. So at this point, if the academy can come up and please join the mayor. All right, well, welcome everyone here. And on behalf of the Camarillo City Council, we are proud to recognize you for your participation in Las Personas Community Academy. Each of you dedicated your time to learning more about local government, from how decisions are made to the services that impact our daily lives. Your involvement demonstrates how much you care about Camarillo. It's a meaningful initiative toward building a stronger, more connected community. We hope this experience has inspired you to stay engaged with your city, whether by volunteering, attending meetings, or simply sharing what you've learned with your neighbors. Congratulations, and thank you for your commitment to the city of Camarillo.
So, did you elect a class valedictorian? She sent us a letter. Would anybody like to say anything? Just say a few words about your experience.
I very much want to thank Chantel, your passion and your patience with us, and you made this experience 100% worth the time of going in on Mondays. So thank you.
Well, again, the Vice Mayor stated it very eloquently. Congratulations. We love an involved and committed group of Camarillo residents because that's what makes the city click. So thank you very much. Congratulations. Don't be strangers. And Madam Clerk. Let me try again. Madam Clerk, with that, we'll go to public speakers on items not on the agenda.
I received 5 requests to speak. If you'd like to speak but haven't submitted your name, please see the clerk staff in the foyer. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. The City Council will receive general public comment for an initial period of 20 minutes. Speakers who sign up during the initial 20-minute public period but are not heard within that time will be given an opportunity to speak following the completion of action on all other agenda items. Your time will be displayed with the video on the displays. When your time is up, the microphone will be muted and we will move on to the next speaker. When I call your name, please come up to the public podium and state your name. The first speaker is Joseph Dubzinski, followed by Spencer Ritchie.
Good evening and welcome.
My name is Joseph Dubzinski Jr. I'm a resident of Camarillo, and I spend my mornings outside the ice field office tracking raid activity. As of this morning, or this afternoon, at least 1,732 people have been abducted in the Tri-County area. 857 of those were in Ventura County, and 459 were within Camarillo. More disturbing is that yesterday, ICE agents out there hit Leo for a third time, Leo Martinez of VC Defensa, and then lied about it again. Violated his First Amendment right to follow, observe, and report on law enforcement activity. Violated his Fourth Amendment right by searching his car and taking his tablet. And then at the hospital, Los Robles violated his Sixth Amendment rights to not allow counsel to see him while he was under arrest. All of that led to him being let go at Los Robles after having his car towed. And this is just more incidents of ICE lying about what they're doing out there and using it to target people in the community. In addition to that, someone was seized up in Santa Barbara and beaten in the process of being thrown into the back of a Pathfinder. They were driven all the way to Cortez Circle before EMS was called for a split tongue, and then he was denied access to a hospital chaplain at St. John's Community Hospital. We report this, and what we're told often by Ventura County Sheriff's Office is that these are just folks trying to do a job, but they're doing it by breaking the Constitution over and over again. And it's sad because we can't even get the sheriff's office to investigate the personal vehicles of the folks who are out at the ice field office, coming in constantly without license plates, without having their lights on during the evenings, and any number of other violations that happen out there. The undocumented community and its advocates can help explain the situation that's out there. We just can't do it 3 minutes at a time here during public comment. So I'm asking once again to please create an immigration stakeholders committee in Camarillo so that you can hear from us on a regular basis and we can have dialogue about what we can do for the immigrants that are in this community, not hearing constantly what we can't do. Thank you.
Spencer Ritchie.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay. Hair looks fine. Hi, I'm Spencer Ritchie, and I noticed that even though that this appears to be the first city council meeting where people can look up, like basically have live Spanish translation, it does not seem to be the first city council meeting where there's closed captioning. So that's why I had to take my mask off to come up here after already having to take my mask off for the photo because I want my face to be visible in my Las Personas picture. But my preference would have been to keep wearing my mask up here, but there's no captioning, which sucks because I noticed that, Kildy's wearing a mask, which he almost never does, which might indicate that, he might be sick or something, because that seems, but whatever. And also, Mayor Tennyson his voice is all off, which normally happens when you're sick. So, yeah, that's why I can't wait for closed captioning to be a thing in these meetings, so that, I can wear my mask when I'm up here, without screwing over everyone who needs to rely on lip reading in order to make out what I'm saying. But Yeah, that's my main topical concern of the day. Another concern is, again, the lack of dollar ride coverage for, especially for in the afternoon. Once again, I'm in the position of not being able to make a dollar ride home so far because, like, after my work shift tomorrow, because, again, the route bus does not go anywhere near my house that late. And also there's, again, dollar ride is swamped. And then in the past few months, I also had an incident where, like, the dollar ride, basically the vehicle got way too cramped for me, and I had a panic attack, and I had to get off, and it was a whole situation trying to get home because, again, dollar ride does not have enough buses. It is being there's way too many people it's expected to serve. And, it's not, I'd be happy to be able to take a dollar ride home. It's not my preference to take the route bus home instead of a dollar ride for reasons, but, I would love to have, that backup of the route bus when I go home from work. Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Sarah Wilzinski, followed by Bev Dransfeld.
Good evening, Mayor Tennyson, City Council, City staff. My name is Sarah Wilczewski. I'm angry today. I am angry that a family member had to shout over a fence with a bullhorn in order to communicate with their loved one who was kidnapped by ICE. I am angry that we are seeing kidnappings every single day still. And I'm just exhausted. I want to thank you guys for actually taking a step, and it's Mayor Tennyson and Councilmember Tremblay, and attending the Oxnard Immigration Stakeholders Meeting. That is appreciated, and I hope you guys had some insightful conversation and learned a lot, and I hope that you guys will be forming one here. I appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bev Dransfeld.
Good evening, Mayor Tennyson, Vice Mayor Dr. Martinez Bravo. I'm here just to express gratitude. Sarah already shared. Mayor Tennyson, Councilmember Tremblay, I am so gracious that you came out last Monday to Oxnard to observe. I understand you were just there to observe, but I think it is important that we give thanks when you honor a request, when we ask you to come out and to so that others know it. I know individually I have thanked you, but I think publicly expressing that thanks so that people know the work that you're doing behind the scenes in your council roles. So I know, as Sarah had mentioned, being able to see what happened in that meeting and seeing how powerful it is across different agencies of every level of government, from local to federal. Also, just knowing that Moore Park has taken steps, that they're establishing theirs, hoping that this movement continues across Ventura County, that, Oxnard led the way. I've given them gratitude as well. A lot of the 805 undocumented community has gone out there last year during Oxnard to say thank you. We're doing what we can, where we can, that it takes all of us. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
The last speaker is Siddharth Mehrotra.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and neighbors. I am Siddharth Mehrotra, and I am here because I agree. You have heard what Joseph, Sarah, and Bev have said, and I agree with it. I also disagree with it. I disagree with any suggestion that it's enough. It is only the beginning. And I do hope it is a beginning, not an end in itself. I hope it is the beginning of a great many more and indeed swifter steps to rid ourselves of this unwanted occupation. For occupation, I think we can call it without hesitation. We have been under it now nearly 2 years. We have seen in people mistreated in every imaginable way, and some we do not dare imagine. We have seen a child's ghost story come alive, of fiends on the streets snatching them away to parts unknown, locking them away into dark corners forever. We have seen a nightmare come alive, and we are sick and tired of it. So, I too commend you for taking part, however small a part, in an effort, however small an effort. But I say again, we must not rest on this laurel, this single leaf of laurel in our future triumphal wreath. I say we must go on, we must take more steps and more toward freeing our city and county from this gross violation of the ideals of Republican democracy and all principles of compassion, which say, truly, I think, it is wrong to make people wait a lifetime and then punish them for waiting, to be counted part of a nation which has inspired their imaginations and those of their parents and grandparents before them. Let us not forget what lies before us to do. Let us not forget our courage, though we find matters like yesterday so disheartening. Let us save ourselves and prove as good an example to the world as we have been a bad example until now. Thank you.
Is that it? Thank you for your comments. We will now go to item D, and I will invite up Chris Valenzuela from the Camarillo Ranch Foundation for the annual report. Chris, sorry.
Good evening, Mayor Tennyson, council members. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. Once again, my name is Chris Valenzuela. I'm the president of the Camarillo Ranch Foundation, and I'm here tonight to provide an annual report. This is going to be a high-level general overview. I'll give you a quick snapshot of 2025 and some things that are going on in 2026. I'm also joined by our treasurer, Helen Fall, and past president, David Slogan, and I also recognize some volunteers that were participants in the Academy this year, so it's very good to be here. Here's some topics we'll touch on very quickly. So I see some familiar faces in this picture, but you guys are obviously familiar with the history of the ranch when the city acquired the property, now 4.5 acres, right? And so the Camarillo Ranch Foundation has played a major role since then in educating the public and putting on community events and a variety of different things. There's been a lot of changes since the pandemic, right? So the scope of the foundation's change, and our focus and charter is much focused on education. And so that is what we do. And I'll give you an idea of the team. So here you have our board members, and we have 45 docents. Our docents are pivotal in the success of the ranch operations, and our board members are, again, all volunteer. We don't have any paid staff or anything like that. We are able to have up to 15 different board members, so you can do some math there and see that we do have some vacancies, and that is a major focus of us right now. We are actively recruiting new board members. What's not mentioned are also general volunteers. We have some folks that are not necessarily docents or board members, but they do help us out. 2025 community events. So here's some events that we did in 2025. These are recurring, and this is what the public has come to expect. So Throwback Thursdays is a very popular last Thursday of the month in the summer, food trucks, classic rock band. Adolfo's birthday, you see Mayor Tennyson doing the piñata, Councilmember Kildee, we had Councilmember Tennyson was, our Tremley rather, was doing the cake in the barn, and appreciate everybody's help. Santa Nights, that's a very popular event. We have Santa Claus in the house, Christmas carolers, fake snow, hot cocoa. It is become very popular, and so we are trying to see how we could accommodate the growing turnout for that, right? So maybe in 2026, we think we'll start a little earlier. That way, kind of helps with the lines a little bit. So, in addition, we had an exhibit on the Camarillo white horses, much like the Reagan Library that has exhibits that come and go. We try to put on temporary exhibits to bring people back and educate them on a variety of topics. 2026, you see additional events. So we are going to be doing a third Throwback Thursday in August, which in my experience doing this since 2019, the only complaint that I'm getting these days is, why don't you do more of these? Which is very good. So we heard the request, and we will be doing an August one. There's, again, talks about Santa Nights. Again, probably going to start earlier rather than adding a third day. Isabel Camarillo, that's our current exhibit. I encourage everyone here and the public to come by Saturdays and Sundays and learn about Isabel Camarillo, who was the wife of Adolfo Camarillo. So that will be on for the remainder of 2026. Here's some of the organizations that help support us in our events. And so when you come to an event, you have food options, you have entertainment, you have house tours, a little bit of everything. We also have a section where the other community groups put up tables and they promote their causes, or they, whether it's Kidstream or Pleasant Valley, Parks and Rec, or the library activities. So the CAF, Commemorative Air Force Museum, they have a paper airplane contest. And so the idea is to get multiple groups from the community involved, and it's something for everybody at our events. Switching from events to school tours, this is a very important part of what we do. We focus on third grade students. It is $0. It doesn't cost anything for students to attend a field trip. We try to make it very interactive. They make butter, so there's supplies that go into that. They do some roping with the calf. You see a picture there. Every now and then a school may reach out and say, you know, we want to go, but there's an issue with funding and we don't have the bus. We will step up and provide that bus for that school so that they could come. Again, I touched on the exhibits, and this is the last three. Again, Isabel Camarillo is the current one. We had one on the architectural history of the house. I really enjoyed the Juan Camarillo exhibit. It was something I'm sad to say I didn't know a lot about Juan Camarillo until that exhibit. And now I think about him every time I drive by the chapel. House tours, 11 to 2, $5 admission. And then again, children 12 and under are free. And you see the guests there, about 100 every month. Right now, we're working on like an Apple Pay option, because it's cash at the moment, but we're trying to do some card reader or Apple Pay. I'm going to touch on some financials. These are our revenue streams. This is how the Camarillo Ranch Foundation makes money. Out of this list, I would say the community events are the most profitable for us. And again, we don't charge for community events, it's free, but it allows us to put on the event for the public and then make a little money to do it again. Here's our balance sheet as of December 31st. So I'll let you look at that. And while you're looking at that, just very thankful to the city. We get a lot of feedback. We have visitors from all over the world that come by, and they just marvel at the beauty of the property. A lot of people also comment that they're a little envious that their community doesn't have anything like that. We recognize that we are part of living history. So it was a real house that a real family lived in. And unlike other museums, right, this is living history. We try to promote it as such. But again, very thankful for all the support from the city, Mitchell, Cameron, Carmen, everybody. You guys are amazing. Any questions?
Any council member have a question or comment? Vice Mayor.
Mr. Valenzuela, thank you so much for the presentation, and thank you to you and to all of your team for everything that you do, all the love that goes into putting time and making our community a better place through this historic house. I had the opportunity to play the role of Carmen Camarillo through Women in History, through AAUW. And one of the things that I learned was that Mr. or Don Camarillo, he absolutely loved sharing his culture and sharing his home with so many people and enjoying fiestas and parties. And so I guess I'm one of the constituents that would say we would love to see more, and I'm glad that you're doing some of that. Of course, I'm sure that takes time and dedication. And so the question that I ask for you is, if there are people who are interested in being a part of the board, how would they go about it?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. And I think you came into my daughter's classroom and she talked about you for a week when you were. We have active social media, so our Facebook page and Instagram page, which is at Camarillo Ranch Foundation, is a good way. Our website also has options to reach out to us, which is camarilloranch.org, and then the email is office@camarilloranch.org. So those are multiple ways that people can get in touch, and we would be interested in any feedback. And we're also entertaining some other event options. We've talked about a time capsule, a movie in the park type of thing, a fashion show, a scavenger hunt. And so we definitely want to add some more things. Obviously, the events that we've been doing are very popular, but we'd like to mix it up a little bit too.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Kevin.
I'm losing my voice. Thank you for what you do and all the board members. But can you drill down just a little bit about the time that it takes to be a board member, please? Thank you.
That's a good question, and you guys know all the here, and it is it's kind of up to the person, and so it is the first Wednesday of the month, 5:30 to 7:30 is the board meeting. That is the minimum requirement. And then other than that, it is kind of up to you how involved you want to be on different committees, with events. I can vouch for all of our board members. They all roll up their sleeves and spend hours and hours a week. We have, like any organization, you always have certain people that do a ton of work and countless hours, right? But we try to tailor it, and we don't want to intimidate or scare people off because people have families or they work full time, and so there's something for everybody.
Thank you.
Mr. Tremblay.
Just a comment. And so thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Chris, thank you. Nice to see you in this setting. We see each other all over town. I know how busy you are. The Camarillo Ranch is a treasure. And I want to, like my colleagues, express my thank you to you, to all the board members, to all of the docents, and to all of the volunteers. It's a labor of love. It's time intensive. And it just demonstrates your and all of the volunteers, board members, docents alike, et cetera.
Thank you.
The love of community and our community specifically and our heritage. And so thank you for everything that you are doing. I could have just said ditto, but I decided to say a few more words. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Then I'll say ditto. I just wanted to echo my colleagues and thank you for your time. Thank all the board and thank the docents. It really is a wonderful home and it really is part of our heritage. And so all the time and commitment that you have to that helps our community grow and it helps us grow into the future. So thank you so much.
Thanks
for being here.
Appreciate that.
Ditto. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Chris.
Mr. City Manager, could you introduce our new staff member for me?
Yes, Mr. Bradley Colvert is our new Community Development Director. I will let him tell you a little bit about himself, but he comes to us from the city of Glendale. We're very excited to have him. Went through an exhaustive search. He came out on top. With that, I'll hand it over to Bradley.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm very excited to be here. I was instructed to keep this very brief earlier. I think I'm already over my word count, actually, so I won't give too much of a background. But I'm very excited to be here. I have received a very warm, gracious, humbling welcome from staff, from those in the community that I've been able to talk to since I've arrived. And I'm very, very much grateful to have the opportunity to work on really the tremendous opportunities this city has. There's a lot of ambitious possibilities here that I know that Mr. Ramirez and others here have communicated to me, and a lot of things to be very excited about. And I am very excited to join this team, to be a part of this staff, and be part of this community. And I'd just like to express my gratitude and appreciation for that.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome, bienvenido.
Ditto.
Thank you. We will now move on to consent. Items E through J. Madam Clerk, do we have any, or first off, do we have anybody that, pardon me?
Excuse me, Mayor.
Oh,
Council comments, please.
we're gonna go through the consent. Are there any requests to pull an item from consent? Seeing none, are there any comments?
Move consent.
I can second.
Do we have any public comments on consent?
No comments.
Now council comments.
Now,
Do you want to go with the council comments now?
yes, yes, I'm trying to.
Oh, you're trying.
Anybody? Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On February 26th, I attended a meeting of the Regional Water Quality Control Board, Los Angeles. On February 27, I had a Metrolink Board of Directors meeting in Los Angeles. On March 2, I was an observer at the Oxnard Community Immigration Stakeholders Meeting. On March 6th, had a meeting of Ventura County Transportation Commission. And then last Monday, on March 9th, I was privileged to attend as a member of the Camarillo Rotary Viva La Comida, which is a wonderful community dinner. I think it was the 56th annual dinner, if I remember correctly. So anyway, that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On February 26th, I attended the Economic Development and Land Use Committee meeting. And right after that was a Mobile Home Rent Stabilization Ad Hoc Committee. And then on March 5th, I attended the CPA Board of Directors meeting, and that's all I've got. Thank you.
I can go next. February 26th, I attended the Mobile Home Land Rent Ad Hoc with Councilmember Santangelo, and also on that same day, the Economic Development and Land Use Committee with Councilmember Santangelo. February 26th, I also attended a Farmers Meetup Conference right here at the McGrath Family Farm. And so it was really a great reminder of how important it is to support our local economy, with agriculture being such an important factor here in Ventura County, and to continue to support the farmers and the farm workers who sustain our community. McGrath actually operates a family or a farmer-owned hub serving all of Ventura County, and they host an organic market every day from 11 to 4. It's called Farmivore, so you can look at it online as well. But they had some delicious, fresh and locally grown products that I definitely recommend. I also had the opportunity to meet several local farmers and learn more about the work that they do to keep our agriculture very strong in this region. And as mentioned, I think supporting our local farms helps strengthens this economy and preserves our farmland and ensures access to fresh, healthy food. And so I encourage everyone to go and check them out. On February 26th, I also attended the Forum on Tobacco and Cannabis held at the Ventura County Office of Education. It was a very informative event for students that were there. There were a lot of children there. There were policymakers and families. And I'd also like to thank Council Member Mr. Gabe Teran for moderating that discussion. And on March 9th, I also attended the Viva la Comida event along with my fellow council members, Mayor Tennyson, Kildee, and Tremblay. And as many of you may know, it's a fundraiser for the Boys and Girls Club organized by the Lions Rotary. Correction. Thank you so much to all of the volunteers and all of the organizers that put it together. It was a wonderful community gathering in support of the Boys and Girls Club, which truly gives so much back to the city of Camarillo and beyond. It was really great to see other elected officials there too, from the PVSD directors, Doug Carlos McDowell and Becky Kramer, a representative from Supervisor Long's office, and Thousand Oaks Conejo Recreation and Parks District Director Ashley Orozco. And thank you also to Councilmember Tremblay for serving as our MC and making the event a successful one. We appreciated your dad jokes. And the evening also provided an opportunity to recognize our fire department for their extensive work with a mountain fire. And as many of you know, sadly, fire season has become a year-round reality for our region. And so we are deeply grateful to our firefighters for their dedication and courage and commitment to the service of our community. Thank you so much.
Mr. Kildee.
Not much tonight, except I did attend the Viva La Comida. That's it.
I'm not going to go through my list, but I have to say a shout out and happy birthday to my wife since I can't be with her tonight. So, honey, if you're watching, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Okay, let's try consent right now, shall we? Anybody want to pull anything? Did we vote?
Second.
We didn't vote.
I'll call a roll call vote.
Okay.
Councilmember Santangelo?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Martinez Bravo?
Yes.
Councilmember Kildee?
Yes.
Councilmember Tremblay?
Yes.
Mayor Tennyson?
Yes.
That passes unanimously.
Next, we have item K, and I believe Senior Planner Paul McLaren is going to present.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, council members. This evening, the council is reviewing a modification for IPD 412M1 within the Airport North Specific Plan and associated projects, as well as a CEQA addendum for the reduced project. The site is surrounded by a Highway 101 to the north and the Camarillo Airport to the south. There are commercial uses to the east and existing industrial development to the west. The site is a vacant parcel that's approximately 46.88 acres. And on the map here on the right-hand side, you can see the car wash that's part of this is in this location here, and the auto dealership would be up in this location. The rest of it is industrial. IPD 412 was approved by the Planning Commission in 2024. The applicant now proposes a reduced project that redistributes development into additional buildings while reducing industrial square footage by nearly 100,000 square feet. There are no proposed changes to land use designation in the general plan, the Airport North Specific Plan, or zoning. The reduced project is a total of approximately 664,775 square feet of non-residential development across auto uses, industrial, research and development space, and an independently operated car wash. The project continues the coordinated campus design approach with heritage-compatible architecture, unified materials, and integrated landscaping. And the Auto Center building serves as a freeway-visible anchor while remaining compatible with the heritage zone and the Airport North Specific Plan. The brand elements of the dealership are incorporated into the heritage zone style through materials, quality, and architectural detailing. The tentative map included in the project subdivides the property into 7 lots to align with the revised building layout while maintaining shared access and utilities. The project does exceed the parking requirements and provides internal circulation designed to serve all lots safely and efficiently. The project will be served by existing public infrastructure and includes stormwater treatment consistent with current standards. Additional roads will be built and maintained by the applicant, along with utility infrastructure, which will be included and constructed with the tract map. And if you look on the map here, the blue here is the internal roads that will be built and maintained, where the infrastructure corridors as well. And then there will be an additional traffic signal added on here that will be turned on when warranted. The car wash is an allowed use in the limited manufacturing zone with a conditional use permit. The car wash includes on-site queuing to avoid traffic spillover, which as you can see in the pink here. It's got a reuse system to reduce potable demand, and the operational conditions that will ensure compatibility with the zone to include, like, these are vacuum here, but they are covered by a wall that you see from the street, which you can actually see in the upper right here. This would be the wall where the vacuums are now hidden behind the wall along Ventura Boulevard. And so this architecture is reflective of the Spanish Mediterranean style, which is consistent with the Heritage Zone guidance. The reduced project remains consistent with the general plan and Airport North specific plan by maintaining a coordinated employment campus and quality freeway gateway to the city, and the project advances multiple city goals related to design quality, economic development, placemaking, and resource efficiency. An addendum was prepared pursuant to CEQA guidelines. It confirms that the reduced project remains within the scope of the previously certified environmental documents, and it requires no additional EIR. Based on the staff analysis, the project supports all the required findings for the IPD, modification, the conditional use permit, and the tentative tract map. The proposed actions were reviewed by the Planning Commission on February 3rd, 2026, and recommended for approval. Staff recommends approval of the proposed actions subject to the conditions of approval, and that ends my presentation. Thank you.
Council questions?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
I'm going to try this, Paul. Is the reduction of 100,000 square foot in industrial, is that market-driven?
I do believe, I mean, I would probably ask the applicant who is here tonight to address that specifically as to why they chose to do that, but I do believe that that is the case, so they can give more detail on that.
Okay, thank you.
I actually had questions more for the applicant as well.
Okay.
Well, then we'll allow the applicant to come up right now for questions. Vice Mayor.
Good evening, Mayor Tennyson, members of the City Council. I'm Dennis Hardgrave, part of the applicant team for this project. As you know, I've been before you many times before on Airport North. Spent a career working with implementing this plan. And specifically tonight, I represent the owner on land use issues, on the umbrella land use issues, more than the specific site planning and design details. But I wanted to let you know that we've coordinated closely with staff and the Airport North specific plan update. If you recall, we did that several years ago. We did the update to the specific plan to address these particular needs. And additionally, I can confirm to you from my perspective as a private practice planner that this does comply with all the standards that were set out. It's actually a less intensive project, as has been stated. I would say that in response to your question, Councilmember Kildee, the smaller building size would tend to be more attractive in not only the current marketplace, but probably the longer term, and would tend to result in the kinds of users that you're looking for within your economic development strategy. And again, the focus here, I completely support of being good paying jobs. You'll hear tonight from union representatives who are in the room, and that we see that this is a positive in the overall framework of what we've long-term wanted to see happen over 30 years, if you think about it, with Airport North. So this would be a real milestone in completing that project. With that, I'm supportive. If there's any policy or other questions I might be able to answer.
Sure. My first question was similar to Councilmember Kildee's, and I believe you answered a portion of it, but if there's anything you'd like to add, it's do these modifications help to ensure that the project is marketable to the life sciences and innovation companies so that Camarillo can remain competitive in attracting those high-quality jobs?
I think it does, and I would tell you specifically why. And other people are more an expert in this. This is observational from my time both in the county and working with Santa Clarita and other cities, that some of these technology companies that we're trying to attract need scalable sizes to work from. And so working with a smaller building type allows them to expand into multiple buildings over time. If you look at probably our greatest current success being Meissner Filtration, they are all over the place in that neighborhood. They would probably, given a chance to do it again, like to be within a single campus instead of spread up and down Flynn Road like they are. And so this, I think, hits that need. It also creates a buyer opportunity, which a lot of industrial parks only want to lease you a building. So my understanding is that there would be an openness to allowing those users to own their buildings, which is very important for stock-held companies.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Hardgrave. The second question is, if the modifications are approved, what is the anticipated timeline for attracting tenants and moving toward construction and occupancy, which is the fun part for me?
Yes. All I can speak to is what I perceive as the plan check process. My understanding is they would go into construction drawings immediately on this. Fortunately, at this site, the backbone is already in the site, right? The surrounding streets and everything else are there. And Darren can address the other issues regarding their timing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Tennyson, council members, my name is Darren Embry, representing the applicant tonight. I live in Los Angeles. Just going to kind of echo what Dennis said as far as flexibility, responsiveness to the marketplace. You'll see that we have more, diverse sizes of buildings now in the layout and the planning. As far as the timing, we want to kick this project off, focusing on the auto center and then the offsite developments. The access point at Springville, I think, has been a game changer. Everything that you're seeing tonight, that we're bringing forward, was with the intention of expediting us getting started. So CDs, we're going to start working on those within the next 30 to 45 days if we are fortunate enough and receive your votes of confidence tonight.
Thank you. And Darren, last question is, I see some familiar faces in the audience. Is the project going to be built on unionized labor, and if so, which unions?
Well, LiUNA, our friends, are here tonight, obviously, in great numbers, and we're working with Altman's as our general contractor, and they are a well-recognized union shop. So,
okay, great. Thank you so much. I have no further questions.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, this is an advertised public hearing, so we will open it up if we have any public comments.
Yes, we do. We have 6 speakers. The first speaker is Michael Shanklin. Please come up to the podium.
Good evening, council members, Mayor Tennyson. My name is Michael Shanklin. I'm the executive director of Kidstream Children's Museum, and I would love to speak in support of this project. There are so many elements of this that I think are important for our children in our community. Where you see a car wash, I see chemistry. Where you see the car wash recycling water system, I see an opportunity to educate children on the importance of wise water usage. Where you see a dealership that sells vehicles, I see an opportunity to teach children about engineering and design and creativity. So as we've been getting to know the principals, there's a tremendous amount of enthusiasm about the project because we recognize that we can leverage this incredible opportunity for the city with educational opportunities for our children. So I urge you and hope that you will vote in support of the project as we move forward with Kidstream. We also look for every opportunity in the community to leverage resources. So thank you for your consideration tonight.
Tom Leonard.
My name is Tom Leonard, and thank you for allowing me to speak to you tonight. I've been a member of this community for 82 years, and 35 years ago in 1985, I spent a lot of time in this room developing the Factory Outlet Center. The issue there with the city council is Camarillo was divided by the freeway, and they thought the north side of the freeway was the infill section to concentrate on, and the south side of the freeway was open space, agriculture, non-income producing. By developing the Factory Outlet Center, we know that that is really the emphasis, or part of the emphasis that drives city economic structure. It's the leading provider of income to the city through their sales tax. It provides, they're the largest provider of real estate taxes in the city. Also, it created a further emphasis where the Target Center came in. After that, the Home Depot Center came in, and now we see Costco. And if you add all that up, I'm not the expert here with the city, but I would imagine that's your lion's share of income. Now, why I'm here to speak about this project, it's the first time I've been back to the City Council in 35 years. It is on the south side of the freeway. It's an important interchange. And what's relative about it is the projects that I've just described have reached a point where they are plateau in their income stream to the city. The city has needs every year, and they get more expensive. Labor goes up, gasoline goes up, vehicles go up. Your whole cost of running a city goes up. So you need additional income to support that. And this project will do that. It has a large component of retail sales, and then you have an executive business park behind it. It's a very smart development. It's also the last open space in that chain in the south side of the freeway, which is relevant. It helps pay for that very nice interchange that you have there. I think that's the nicest interchange in the state of California. It's well maintained. And you know, that cost city a lot of money, and now you can recapture a lot of that income with the development fees you get from that project. Also, it continues the role that the city plays in maintaining the city. I think the city has the nicest roadways of any city in Ventura County. It has the nicest public landscaping of any city in this county.
Excuse me a minute, our clock disappeared. You've already passed the 3 minutes, sir.
All right, well
We
then
stop 'em?
I'll conclude, and I hope you vote favorably on this project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Dave Rand, followed by Jose Garcia.
Good evening, Mayor Tennyson, Vice Mayor Martinez. Thank you for and council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Jose Garcia. I'm a lifelong LAUNA member, Labor's International Union of North America. We are here in full support of this project. And just to go off the educational thing, I think our role in this is very educational for our kids to show what skilled local labor can do in our community and bring to fruition things that make our city money, you know. And on the educational side, this will help our apprenticeship because people will come and be apprentices on this program. And another thing, our union provides scholarships for our children to go further in education. So we're in full support of this project. When developers like this infuse private money with skilled labor, it's a win-win all the way around, and we're ready to deliver you a world-class project for the city of Camarillo. Thank you so much.
The next speaker is Jacob Angland, followed by Andy Conley.
Hello, Mayor Tennyson, council members, thank you. I hope you're able to get my documentation. I'd emailed it in and sent in copies yesterday to the city clerk. So I won't read through all of it, but I want to touch on a couple points of my formal objection to the land. As I look at it, I believe that there's some conflict with the vision of the recent sustainability master plan that was in 2023 compared to the 1986 initial North Airport plans. And even looking at the SEER development, it was originally saying that even in this 2016 documentation that the state located that as farmland of local importance, not state importance, but local importance. And I know it's been sitting fallow, they say, since 2013, but with the sustainability plan, we've been approving that we would create regenerative spaces, places with native plants, a better ecosystem, getting carbon neutrality by 2045, and the 5,300 square tons of carbon emissions that this is citing, I don't think captures the full loss to paving 46 acres of land. Is, like we've heard, this is the last available slot, and it's strategically located next to the airport. So we already have emissions from the airport, the new other Costco gas developments. So this is a key place to actually plant native plants and carbon sequestering plants. And even though there's no current irrigation, you could create sustainable practices of swales and digging that the water actually moves through the system, catching all of the nutrients along the way. And you've even got that dump site at the bottom. And so this could be developed completely different. And I know that would require some rezoning, but that's what I'm proposing, is that this would be formally objected and that there would be a plan to maybe relook at that land of how that could be strategically used. And so you can see from the sustainability plan, there's several points, MW 1.4, MR2, MR 1.2 with the urban greening initiatives, actually creating community gardens, the partnerships and community partnerships. I love the fact that there could be education, but what type of education could we actually do if we were creating a regenerative landscape? I had the opportunity to go to Davis this last weekend and tour a place called Village Homes that was established in 1970. It's a 70-acre sustainable living plot. And so I'm not necessarily recommending housing in this, but there's a way to design the land together for edible landscapes that we can just think about local food, not necessarily exporting our food out. And so while I won't go through, again, all of these list by list, you can see that I really believe that we need to not just think about the local income, but what loss could happen in creating that resilient future that we've laid out, that we desire with the sustainability.
The last speaker is Andy Conley.
Good evening, Mayor Tennyson, members of the council. My name is Andy Conley. I'm the president and CEO of the West Ventura County Business Alliance, the Chamber of Commerce representing Camarillo, Oxnard, and Port Hueneme. Our organization represents hundreds of local employers, entrepreneurs, and community organizations who are deeply invested in the future of our regional economy and the success of our communities, including many businesses that operate right here in Camarillo. On behalf of the WVCBA, I am here tonight to respectfully urge you to adopt the resolutions presented this evening so that this project can move forward. Approving this project would bring three important benefits to Camarillo. First, it would create significant economic development opportunities. Established businesses are already interested in making Camarillo their home, including this proposed auto dealership. And modern industrial facilities would help attract manufacturing, research and development, life sciences, and many other growing industries. These facilities would also provide space for existing local businesses to expand and continue to grow here in Camarillo. Second, it would support the creation of many new jobs, as well as all the construction jobs that will come with it. And this would help companies move in here to Camarillo and current businesses expand, and that growth translates directly into employment opportunities. These would be well-paying jobs with competitive benefits, providing valuable career opportunities for the residents of Camarillo. And third, this project would be a substantial generator of sales tax revenue for the city, funding that can support essential services, infrastructure improvements, and quality of life investments for Camarillo residents. Additionally, this project aligns with the area-specific plan and the city's general plan, is consistent with what is envisioned for the area, and fits squarely within the framework the city has established for responsible growth. In closing, a project like this helps ensure Camarillo remains competitive in attracting quality employers while continuing to support a strong and balanced local economy. For these reasons, economic opportunity, job creation, and new revenues for the city, I respectfully urge the council to approve the proposed amendments and allow this project to move forward. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Is that the last speaker?
That's correct.
With that, we will close the public comment portion of the hearing and open it up for council discussion.
Let's start.
I'm happy to start.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to everyone who spoke, who were in support of the project, and the gentleman who spoke in opposition of it as well. For full transparency, last Thursday I had a conversation with Mr. Darren Embry. He's the applicant. He had reached out to me to provide just an update on the modifications. So I'm personally in support of the proposed modifications to the fairing project. I think that projects like this need to be able to adapt to changing market conditions so they can ultimately succeed. And I think these adjustments will help ensure that the project is marketable, and that was made clear today as well, in addition to it being capable of attracting the kinds of companies that we want to see thrive in the city of Camarillo. I think that this development has the potential to bring these high-quality jobs, research and innovation sectors, and I think if we want Camarillo to remain regionally competitive with our nearby communities that are also attracting the life sciences and technology, we need projects like this that create that environment, the right environment for those employers. And I also want to acknowledge that the developers have already demonstrated some form of commitment to our community, because even before they have built, they have been supporting, as we heard from Kidstream Children's Museum, which will also be such an important asset to our community. And they've also invested locally, as we see also through investing in workers, local workers, unionized workers, such as through LIUNA. LIUNA, on a personal note, my father was a farm worker when I was growing up, and he could not, we just couldn't afford health care. And it wasn't until he became a union member through LIUNA that we were able to gain access through healthcare. So when we're thinking about projects like this, we're not just thinking about the economy, that is definitely a part of it, but what's also embedded in it is a true investment in little girls like that we see here in the public, and children and families like mine. So I'm very grateful for that as well. And so I really appreciate the vision behind this project, and when ready, I would be willing to move in support of the proposed modifications and of staff's recommendations.
Anyone else?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Echoing my colleague, thank you for everybody for speaking tonight. And I'll note that the initial approval of this project was back in May of '24 by the Planning Commission and ultimately coming to council, and that this is a modification to an existing approval. And you go all the way back, and so actually I'm still up on the board. It was the final SCIR for this was based on a document certified in 2016, and I'm very mindful of Mr. Leonard's comments relative to the, and an appreciation for all the work that he has done through the years in terms of the vision for this area of Camarillo. I acknowledge the items that were very articulately set forth by Mr. Anglin, and thank you. And I acknowledge a sustainability master plan for the city and for city operations. So I want to make sure that you understand that it's for the city itself in its municipal operations. So one of the difficulties that I have, and I won't speak for the rest of council, but sometimes, you know, it's a matter of balance. And it's a matter of what we think is the best thing to do based on public input for the city. And in light of the anticipated use of this property for literally for decades, and in light of its economic development aspects, which are of critical significance for our city going forward, I think as a matter of balance, I'm in full support of the project. I appreciate the vision that it's taken. I think the way I would probably term this modification is more of a right sizing based on both, I guess Mr. Hargrave really touched on it, both short-term and long-term. But I am looking forward to seeing this project start soon as feasible, and I'm in full support. And so thank you to everybody for your comments. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was in support of this project originally for many of the reasons that have already been expressed by my colleagues. I believe that this is an opportunity for manufacturing, life science, and tech to come in and open businesses and create more jobs. I am a strong believer in union jobs to develop this project, and I'm very happy about that. And I think this is a good land use. I think it's consistent with our general plan. And I think the changes, as Councilmember Tremblay said, is right sizing. I like that term. I think that makes sense, and I think these are good changes, and they make sense and reflect the market conditions. So I am too in support of this.
I'll give it a try. Excuse me. It's been 30 years in the making here, and if all of us will remember, there's been a lot of adorations for this project here. I think it's really important that we have high-paying jobs here, and one of the big reasons for that, it's only going to get more expensive to live here. So we need to acknowledge that. I want to ditto everything that my colleagues have said here. I think this is a long-range project that's going to really benefit the future of our city here. And the modification, I support that. To me, it shows that they're looking at what the market is predicting and saying the last thing we need is another vacant building here. We don't need any more of that. But they've done their due diligence, and I can support it.
Ditto. Now I will call for a motion and a second.
I am happy to motion to support recommendations 1 through 4.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Santangelo?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Martinez Bravo?
Yes.
Councilmember Kilby?
Yes.
Councilmember Tremblay?
Yes.
Mayor Tennyson?
Yes.
That passes unanimously.
Next up. Oh, I'm sorry. At the request of a fellow council member, we're going to take a quick 10-minute recess. Sorry, James. Mr. Fowler will give us an update on the Berry Street, Arneal Road Affordable Housing Project.
Yes, thank you. As you said, I'll be providing an update for both Berry Street and Arneal Road. The action itself is only related to Arneal Road, but because these projects have been discussed in kind of a joint fashion in the past, we wanted to take the opportunity to give you an update on both. So with that said, starting off with the Arneal Road project, that's a visual of how it looks right now. The city acquired the property in 2017, entitled the project in 2023 after a zone change, general plan amendment, and some environmental analysis. And then thereafter was looking for grant funding to fund the construction of the project, which we received in 2024 with the award of the $7.3 million ERF grant. 6.3 million of which was earmarked for construction. A contract was awarded to SL Leonard in October 2025 to provide construction management, inspection, constructability analysis, and materials testing services. Happily, the city's actually been accruing interest on the grant since its receipt in the second quarter of 2025. In total, the city has accrued about $150,000 in interest through December 2025, with an additional expected $150,000 of interest accrual by the end of June. And this money must be used to fund grant activities. And in fact, thus far it has. So the city's spent $133,000 thus far on the constructability analysis, preparation of the book specs, which are part of the notice inviting bid, finalization of the plans and minor site work. So all of that was more than covered by the interest accrued. So moving on, the Berry Street project, we have a visual there as well as a map of the two sites. You can see there, they're really just around the corner from each other, which is partially why they're discussed jointly typically. Berry Street's a 6-unit project. It was previously brought to council for consideration at the same time the ERF grant was accepted. The projects, again, very geographically close to one another, and both are intended to serve the city's homeless population. Berry Street is earmarked more for 6-month to 8-month sort of stays before residents can move on to permanent housing, whereas Arneal Road is meant to be a longer-term stays. In May of 2024, the city completed the purchase of the tax default property after a fairly lengthy tax default sale. In July of 2024, the city released an RFP soliciting bids for the construction of the 6-unit project or in the manufacture of the units. And the council awarded a professional services agreement to Azure Printed Homes. We want to highlight Azure is an innovative creator of attractive, almost ADU-styled manufactured units, and they utilize a blend of environmentally friendly recycled polymers, which are non-toxic, and VOC-free plastic, that's volatile organic compound-free plastic, also fiberglass and concrete. The units are actually in the process of being manufactured off-site at Azure's facility in Gardena and will be delivered to the site fully assembled. Azure will prepare the site with water, sewer, and electricity ahead of delivery and installation. All units will be equipped with an efficiency kitchen and bathroom, and that's in somewhat sharp contrast to other projects where potentially they have shared facilities, so that's something we think is a good thing. The project is also grant funded, though it utilizes community development block grant funds. And the project plans are currently in the final stages of review by the fire department, and permits are expected to be issued in April. So as far as the city council strategic plan objectives this meet, so objective 1 is to essentially collaborate with the VC Sheriff's Department, VC Healthcare Agency, and other agencies to help with homelessness. This project is kind of working extremely closely with Project Hope. Project Hope will be providing services on site. and the units will be filled by clients that are working with Project Hope. So that aligns very closely with Objective 1. Similarly, Objective 6 is to develop alternate methods to move forward with housing projects without traditional redevelopment property tax increment financing. In both of these cases, the city's employing grant funds. Finally, Objective 10 is to encourage the development of appropriate infill housing projects that include affordable housing opportunities to help address the housing crisis in our area and provide homeless housing. Again, that's quite literally what these projects do. The project also aligns very closely with the city's housing element in that Program 18 of the housing element specifically identifies the Arneal Road Housing Project. Program 17 was the program that our homelessness strategic plan kind of emerged out of, but it also identifies the need for the city to create some housing. Similarly, Program 10 is adequate sites for our arena numbers, and this was Arneal Road was one of the sites identified. So I want to take an opportunity again to highlight who will be served at these projects. The two projects work in tandem to provide safe and attractive progressive housing opportunities consistent with the specific population needs of the population of Camarillo. The Berry Street project will provide housing for residents around 6 to 8 months while they gain the skills and resources consistent with living in more permanent housing. The nearby Arneal Road Affordable Housing Project will provide permanent housing for those that demonstrate long-term self-sustainability. Both projects will provide professional assistance services to help residents maintain conditions for housing stability. And really what that means is both Project Hope as well as a permanent property manager. Residents of these units will be long-term Camarillo community members, people who have established roots here who are experiencing homelessness. And every individual placed in these units will have already been extensively vetted by Project Hope and will be actively engaged in case management services. And once again, individuals selected for this program have been identified as having a strong likelihood of achieving housing stability and long-term self-sustainability. So as part of the strategy for both these projects, and in order to keep the community informed, staff have developed a communications plan to let the community know about project progress. We'll have a webpage dedicated to the projects, social media outreach, direct mailers to residents and businesses in close proximity, as well as periodic updates to the council, amongst other things listed there. Finally, as far as a fiscal impact, there's no fiscal impact to the actions recommended tonight. Both projects have been awarded significant grant funding and are not projected to have an impact on the general fund. And finally, the recommendation there is to effectively to approve the release of the notice inviting bids and the accompanying specifications and plans. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Questions for James?
No, I don't have questions.
Nope. Hearing none, Madam Clerk, any public comments?
There are no speakers.
No public comments. Council discussion.
I'll start.
Okay.
I support this. I want to thank the staff for all the hard work. This is a necessary project and it's needed in our city. And it took a long time for it to come about, but it's going to be worth the wait. So it's going to be some high quality projects here that fits into the area of our city.
Thank you. I see our strategy with homelessness as this large pie. And we have Project Hope. We have a whole bunch of different ways of meeting people's needs. And this is one piece of that. And I fully support this, and I'm very excited about this project. I think it makes really great use of some infill, and I think it is going to serve its purpose to provide some temporary housing. As you've discussed, there's already people that I think there's already people that we have that have been not accepted, but that we know in the future would be good fit for this type of housing. So I support this, and I'm glad you brought it to us, and I thank all the staff for their hard work.
This is the point where I say ditto to the well-taken comments by my colleagues, and I fully support it.
And I fully support it as well, in addition to all of the reasons that were given as to why this project is necessary in our community. I will add that I think it is always important to prioritize the dignity of humanity, no matter who we are in this community, and I think that this project is right in line with that. So I will fully support it as well.
Ditto. Do we have a motion and a second?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'll move the recommended items.
I can second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Santangelo?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Martinez Bravo?
Yes.
Councilmember Kilby?
Yes.
Councilmember Tremblay?
Yes.
Mayor Tennyson?
Yes.
That passes unanimously.
Thank you, James. Next up is item 1, the OPV Coalition versus Fox Canyon GMA. And making the presentation is the city's attorney representing them in this matter, Mr. Ryan Becerra. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Always good to see you. So, yes, so what we're doing today is I'm giving a summary of where we are on this lawsuit, the Oxnard Pleasant Valley groundwater adjudication. Groundwater adjudications are a lawsuit, but they are a quite unique kind of lawsuit involving thousands of people sometimes. So they're a little bit complex to explain, but we'll do our best this evening. So why does the city of Camarillo, why are you concerned about this? And it fundamentally comes down to the fact that the city has relied on local groundwater from what we call the Pleasant Valley Basin for decades. And this lawsuit would determine potentially the rights of everyone in the Pleasant Valley and Oxnard Basin, all the way out to Ventura on the north at the coast, down to Port Hueneme on the south on the coast, and then back to Camarillo. Who gets to pump how much groundwater? And so it intertwines with all sorts of things, including the city has used imported water coming from Northern California, imported through Metropolitan and Cayugas over time. And it particularly potentially impacts the city's rather unique North Pleasant Valley groundwater desalter, where you have implemented a win-win project involving millions and millions of dollars of investment to both remove salts from the Pleasant Valley Basin and produce clean drinking water from pretty salty groundwater. So all of these things are at play in this lawsuit. So to understand the lawsuit, you need to understand what it is we're actually dealing with. So in California, we manage and litigate groundwater largely in what we call basins. And basins they're not bathtubs. A lot of times in this state, they're defined by lines on maps because otherwise they'd be too big to do anything with realistically. So what you have in central Ventura County, you can see it on the map, is most of these basins with the various colors are linked in some way. The groundwater flows across the boundary. Of the ones you can see on the map, really only the Arroyo Santa Rosa Basin isn't connected in any way. It's uphill. It's where Thousand Oaks is. So you can see that there's all of these basins, and the lawsuit we're dealing with just concerns the Oxnard subbasin and the Pleasant Valley Basin. And in fact, the Las Posas Basin that's adjacent to the two of them Just about a week ago, the Court of Appeal in Ventura issued its decision on appeal in the separate adjudication of that basin. But the water does flow across most of these boundaries you see. So what is this lawsuit and how did we get to this particular place? So this particular lawsuit is driven partly by the state's enactment of the 2014 Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, which is the first law in California that requires statewide the organized management of groundwater. This area is a little different in that Fox Canyon Groundwater Management Agency was created specially back in the early 1980s to manage groundwater. But what we call SGMA, the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, applies rules that apply statewide to all these things. So in this case, in 2019, Fox Canyon adopted a groundwater allocation ordinance to tell people how much groundwater they could pump. And a pretty large group of landowners didn't care for how that ordinance worked. And so they filed this lawsuit in June of 2021. Now, what they did here, we attorneys, when you file a lawsuit, you have what are called causes of action in the lawsuit. Basically, what are your legal claims? What is it you're claiming is illegal that someone did? And so in this lawsuit, there are 4 of these causes of action, and they deal with both attempting to invalidate Fox Canyon's allocation ordinance and also litigating every single party's water right to pump groundwater. So in contrast, the city of Oxnard also didn't like some of Fox Canyon's allocation ordinance. So they sued Fox Canyon over the ordinance without going the next step of bringing all of the groundwater pumpers into one lawsuit. So the lawsuit we have, this OPV case, is as against all pumpers in both the Oxnard and Pleasant Valley basins. So why is this a big deal for Camarillo? Well, you're a defendant. You're one of the hundreds of defendants, and essentially all the public agencies that pump groundwater in the 2 basins are involved. And so what do you have at issue? Well, Camarillo is relatively unique. You're the only city in the Pleasant Valley Basin, and your land mass is about half of the basin. So you really are deeply involved in Pleasant Valley. As we talked about a little earlier, you historically, for decades, the city has relied on local groundwater, but you have the unique situation where as Simi Valley and Moore Park developed, and they developed using water imported, as I understand it at least, they developed using water imported from Northern California, down the California aqueduct you see along I-5, pumped over the Tehachapi's, coming into this area. And as that happened, and they discharged their wastewater as their communities grew, the salts that were in that water came down the Arroyo Las Posas and flowed into the Pleasant Valley Basin. And in particular, your historic wells, wells A and B, are up in your northeast corner of the city because that's the most uphill place. And so if you have your groundwater wells there, you can flow your water by gravity through the rest of the system. They also are essentially right on top of the first place where the salty water from upstream flowed into the basin. So you had salty water mound up right at your groundwater wells, which caused them to be saltier than you could really use directly. You know, there are laws about how much salts you can have in drinking water. And so the salts that were coming into the groundwater caused you problems. And essentially, the city built its desalter and with $70 million of federal and state and ratepayer money to both remove salts from the groundwater and produce clean drinking water again from those wells. And so that's the crux of what is at issue really for the city in this OPV case. This salts issue flows through your entire water system. So if you have salty drinking water, you end up having saltier wastewater coming out of houses, and the city, you have to treat the wastewater, and you do it well enough that you're delivering recycled water to farmers they can actually use so that they don't pump groundwater. But this whole issue with the salts flowing through your water system is both a drinking water and a wastewater issue. So again, just kind of on the quantities of how your water system has worked over time, as I understand it at least. Before the desalter began operating in 2023, you were having to use more and more imported water because you had to blend it with the groundwater coming out of your wells so that you could get the salts in your drinking water down to a place where it complied with law. So you were using more and more imported water from Callegas. Now with the desalter, you have kind of flipped your mix of drinking water sources to be more reliant on your local groundwater, as you were historically, and less on the imported water. So again, this is a little before my time working with the city, but as I understand it, you did a pretty comprehensive financial analysis and determined that building this desalter to take this, essentially desalinate your groundwater, was a cheaper and more reliable option than continuing to buy more and more water from Northern California. This again allows you to deliver quite a bit of recycled water to farmers down near your wastewater treatment plant, down near Conejo Creek. So when you start to dig in as to how this lawsuit might affect the city's water supplies, probably the single most important thing is that because Fox Canyon has authority under state law to issue groundwater pumping allocations, as you work through the whole process of determining whether the desalter was feasible, you went to Fox Canyon and obtained a pumping allocation specifically for the desalter, 4,500 acre-feet a year of pumping. And essentially what that allowed you to do is to invest in the desalter with the knowledge that you could get that much water out of your project. Now, you don't get in 4,500 acre-feet directly out of the desalter. There's some loss in the desalination process. You get about 3,900 acre-feet, as I understand it, a year. But if you can't operate the desalter to its full capacity, you end up potentially stranding some of your investment, and you end up having probably to buy more imported water, which is more costly, is not consistent with what your planning was. And you end up also potentially in a place where you're having a problem with landowners out there, because under California law, the basic rule is that landowners have a priority to what we call native water supplies, water that derives from just natural processes, over cities. And to the extent a court determines that the native groundwater is overdrafted, you start to have a problem with some of the landowners out in the rest of the Pleasant Valley Basin. So essentially, as I discussed, all of the interests you have in your water supplies end up at stake in this lawsuit because, one, you've relied on local groundwater historically as an important part of your water supply mix. Two, you have millions and millions of dollars of investments in cleaning up the local groundwater so that you can use it and remove salt. If you have to litigate this case through, you end up having to argue about all kinds of things. So under California law, someone who imports water to a basin has something of a priority right to the extent that those imports augment the groundwater basin supplies. You might, if this case goes far enough, you might have to litigate whether you have that kind of priority imported water right. You also get into, well, what we attorneys call in lieu recharge, which means when you're delivering recycled water to farmers, they're not pumping as much, and the basin is higher in its groundwater as a result. You may have to have an argument about who gets to have credit for the increased levels of groundwater. You know, this gets more and more controversial, obviously, the deeper you go into this big lawsuit. So how has this lawsuit proceeded? The initial complaint was filed back in June of 2021. The city wasn't named. It was kind of unusual. The city was actually listed in the document as somebody who might get sued to start with. And then it was in late 2022, you were actually named as a defendant. And so we've had a lot of what you might call initial skirmishing about how the lawsuit would be organized. But we really got down to brass tacks in the middle of last year. The case is in Santa Barbara Superior Court, and that court set a trial date for September of last year. About a month before that, there were some heavy-duty negotiations, and other parties negotiated what we attorneys call safe yields, which is the maximum amount of water you can pump from a basin. Other parties negotiated safe yields for both Oxnard and Pleasant Valley, and the city could not agree with them. So we went to trial in September of last year. In October, the Superior Court adopted the other party's proposed decision, and we are now in the appeals process. And so we filed what you might call an appeal at the end of last year, and we filed our opening brief to the Court of Appeal in Ventura about 2 weeks ago. So this settlement, who adopted it? So basically, the short answer is all of the active parties in the case, really, except the city, adopted it. I don't think that is as unusual as it sounds, given that you are the one city in the Pleasant Valley Basin and you occupy about half of its landmass. I would say people probably shouldn't be surprised that you might not agree with others. But in any case, this is a partial list of parties that essentially agreed to this settlement value that we did not agree with. So what is it we didn't agree with? Well, the decision essentially adopted two numbers for the Pleasant Valley Basin. It adopted a total safe yield, so the total amount of water available to pump, of 13,750 acre-feet a year. That was the negotiated number. It then treated about 69% of that, 9,500 acre-feet, as native water. So that would be considered water resulting from the processes of nature, not water imported, not water coming in from Moore Park and Simi Valley's use of imported water. The decision reached that total number, the 13,000, by essentially saying pumping in the Pleasant Valley Basin bears some responsibility, not quantified, for seawater intrusion in the Oxnard subbasin at the coast. And the decision says the Pleasant Valley Basin is overdrafted, meaning that in this, as the decision states it, there's more pumping going on than the basin is recharging. Our proposal didn't agree with any of those points. It wasn't adopted, obviously, but we proposed essentially a safe yield of 17,100 acre-feet, higher allowable pumping based on long-term average pumping, and then actually gain in the groundwater basin storage. When you add those two things together, we think it's 17,100 acre-feet. We propose that native and non-native water is about equal. Basically, we don't think that the decision accounts for the fact that a lot of the water coming in through Arroyo Las Posas right to your wells in the northeast corner is non-native water. And we think that the technical analysis shows that the basin is not overdrafted, that it has sustained long-term pumping while not having a problem. So why is Camarillo appealing? I mean, basically, we think both the total safe yield and the what you might call the non-native yield are too low. On the non-native yield, it appears to us that there's little dispute that the water coming in from upstream is pretty heavily non-native, and yet it appears to be treated as native water. And we think that the long-term pumping numbers show that the basin has sustained more than the 13,750 acre-feet per year of pumping. And so there's actually more water available to Camarillo and all of the other Pleasant Valley Basin parties to pump. So what are our next steps? As I said, we have appealed to the Court of Appeal. Because we're in the middle of what could be, years and years more of litigation, it's not entirely clear that the Court of Appeal will actually hear the case now. As of now, it looks like they might, but it's possible they won't. So there's various possible results coming from the Court of Appeal, and we could receive a decision at any time, or it could be quite a bit longer before we receive a decision from them. Whatever the Court of Appeal says, the next step in the Superior Court up in Santa Barbara is what we attorneys call Phase 2, which would be probably at least 2 years of litigation where all of the parties fight amongst themselves as to who gets to pump how much. Essentially a water right trial involving potentially hundreds of parties. It might be very complicated. That would not necessarily be the end of it. Phase 3 then is scheduled at some point to deal with what we water attorneys call physical solution, which normal human beings would say is a management plan. In water litigation, you can actually litigate a management plan with all sorts of rules in it. That's why these cases aren't like car accidents or slip and falls. I mean, you're getting into some really, really, really complex and frankly, highly political negotiations sometimes. And so that brings the last thing. It is quite likely at some point there will at least be a global settlement discussion. Dozens to hundreds of parties negotiating settlement. That is normally how groundwater adjudications are resolved. I don't know that there have been very many in California where you have litigated everything down to the very, to the dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Usually there's some sort of very involved settlement discussion. And as you can imagine with a case this complex and this many parties, even a settlement discussion can take a long time. I was involved in one that took about 15 months off and on, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I'm getting old, 15 years ago. So that's sort of how these cases proceed and what's at issue here. This is a pretty high-level summary. I consciously avoided using any Latin terms so that we didn't put people entirely to sleep. But that's where we are in this case. After, we're not quite 5 years in, and it's sort of hard to see the end of it, but that's where we are now.
Mr. Mayor?
So questions, go ahead.
Can I go ahead and start? Ryan, thanks for the summary. It's really useful. Can we go back? I'm just saying, can we go back to like slide 3, just looking at the basins? And we really have 2 basins at issue here. One is the Pleasant Valley Basin, and the other is the Oxnard. Sometimes it's called Oxnard Basin, but it's Oxnard Subbasin, right?
Yes, that's how Department of Water Resources refers to it.
And the 2 are if it's my understanding that the 2 are hydrologically connected, as most of the basins in the West County are, right?
Yeah, and it's a common thing in California that groundwater in some way is flowing across the legal boundary of the basins as set by the state.
And I was sitting here taking notes, and I think it was slide 11 where it indicated that, the Pleasant Valley, let's go to slide 11, I think. Right, very down the bottom, and Camarillo's proposal, Pleasant Valley Basin is not overdrafted based on a groundwater sustainability plan analysis. I guess my question is, I understand that part, but has the Pleasant Valley Basin historically been overdrafted? And why does that matter?
What you have is, so Department of Water Resources, the state, was assigned beginning in the 1970s to identify basins and give some indication of their status. And over time, Pleasant Valley and Oxnard have appeared as separate basins much of the time, but not all of the time in the state's reports. And the state at times has called Pleasant Valley overdrafted. And as far as I can tell, it's largely because of the connection to Oxnard with seawater intrusion. Now, what has happened in the last several years is because of the Groundwater Sustainability Act, there's been much deeper levels of analysis throughout the state as to the status of the basins. And the reason we argued this is that when the Fox Canyon Groundwater Management Agency did its plan under SGMA in 2019, 2020, they did a deep dive technically, and they found the basin's not overdrafted. And it wasn't just a statement that it wasn't overdrafted. There's a bunch of complicated math that quantifies, as I understand it, based on actual data, what the pumping more or less has been in Pleasant Valley since about 1985. And that's about between 15 and 16,000 acre feet a year of pumping. And that same analysis showed that with that level of pumping, the basin was gaining groundwater, not losing it. So that strikes me, at least, as I understand it, groundwater law, that's not an overdraft. You know, when you have a long-term average level of pumping and you're gaining groundwater, you're in equilibrium or perhaps a little bit in surplus.
So there's storage, and then there's gain, and then there's outflow.
Correct.
To the other aquifer, right?
Yeah, right. When you have one of these Bolton 118 boundaries, there's usually water flowing over the boundary in some way.
Right. So why does that matter in terms of Pleasant Valley, how Pleasant Valley has historically been operated?
Well, in general, if you have water flowing out of your basin and you're not sucking water into your basin, you're in equilibrium.
Okay.
In general. And so, as I understand the trial evidence, having been through the trial, the modeling, and this is modeling, it's not measurement, is that more or less 5,000 acre feet a year or so has flowed out of Pleasant Valley into Oxnard across that Bolton 118 boundary.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Kildee.
Yeah, take a stab, Ryan. I think it's also important that it took us 20 years to get approval for a desalter plant. It was 20 years. And could you kind of, pardon the pun, drill down? How many acre feet do we need to pump to make our financial investment in a desalter worthwhile?
Well, I'll say I went to law school partly so I didn't have to do math. So I'm not entirely clear on the financial aspects of it. But what I do know is that after all that analysis, and I think you did at least one EIR, and I think you did a couple supplemental EIRs, and then you did some more of that. You did an enormous amount of analysis to support the desalter. At the end of it, in 2016, Fox Canyon issued you this pumping allocation of 4,500 acre feet a year. And that's the rock bottom, like, basis of your investment. We can get this much water out of this facility. And so you don't get that whole 4,500 acre feet as a water supply, but that's the pumping number the project's based on. And so to the extent your pumping at the desalter gets constrained below that, it starts to eat into the basis of your investment for the facility.
Thank you.
Councilmember Santangelo.
Thank you for being here, Ryan.
Thank you.
Can you explain what the city is trying to accomplish through the appeal process?
Yeah, essentially, there's basically two things. One is, we think the non-native number, well, let me go back. We think the native safe yield number was set too high. We think that evidence shows that number includes non-native water that came down Arroyo Las Posas, that is the reason you have salts at your city wells. And so we're appealing because we think the converse of native yield would be non-native yield. We think the non-native should be higher to account for that. So that's possibly the most important thing. The second thing is that we think the total safe yield is too low and that the basin's not actually overdrafted. And fundamentally, life is easier if you're in a basin that's not overdrafted than if you're in a basin that is overdrafted. And when you get into a basin that's overdrafted, now everybody has to really start sharpening knives for other parties to try to figure out how much you get to pump. We think that the technical analysis, again, this is what we think. The technical analysis shows the safe yield's not that low, and it'd be better to live in a world where the Pleasant Valley Basin is not overdrafted.
Thank you.
Ryan, thank you so much for being here and for providing such an informative presentation to our community members on this important topic. My question to you is, you've mentioned the city of Oxnard briefly throughout your presentation.
Yes.
Can you speak to a little bit more in depth as to the role that the city of Oxnard plays in all of this?
Sure. So the city of Oxnard is like the city of Camarillo. They don't want to be in this lawsuit, I think. They are concerned about its potential impacts on their water supplies, just as the city of Camarillo is. I honestly don't know in great depth all their water supplies. I know it's quite complicated. You know, when you're out at the coast and you may have some salts coming into your groundwater, it gets pretty complicated, and they've done all sorts of things, including using imported water. And so, you know, we don't agree with them right now, but I'll say that they're doing what they think that is necessary for their municipal supplies. Now, that being said, they are extremely interested, as far as I can tell, in what the total yield of the Pleasant Valley Basin is, because it seems to be they're concerned that they want to make sure enough water is coming out of Pleasant Valley to help with seawater intrusion. That's a little different than Camarillo, but I think I wouldn't say they're being terrible. I would say they're trying to deal with their water supply issues the way Camarillo is. It's just we don't agree with them on some things.
Okay, thank you.
Ryan, it's gotten somewhat contentious during the mediation and some of the public pronouncements that are going on now. Do you think there's still a possibility of a settlement between all of the players at the table?
Yes, I do. I mean, it's the nature of groundwater adjudications that they are highly political and contentious. They always are. In fact, I mean, you get unfortunate situations because you're talking about everybody's groundwater pumping, which is, central to how a lot of people do business. You get disputes between business partners, you get disputes within families, they get really contentious. But they generally settle in some way, and the usual pattern is 75, 80% of the active parties, or maybe 75, 80% of the parties pumping ends up in some form with some kind of deal. And then there are nearly always some people who can't agree to it, and they end up going to trial about everything at the end. I mean, one thing that's important about where we are is we're nowhere near the end of this. I mean, if this is a baseball game, we're in maybe, we may be in the fourth inning. When you get down to the ninth inning, there's usually some kind of pretty comprehensive settlement negotiation. I still expect that here. The question becomes, what is the scope of that, and does it work for the city of Camarillo?
Thank you. Any other questions?
No questions.
Do we have any public comments?
Yes, we have one speaker, Spencer Ritchie. Spencer?
Just a reminder, Spencer, this is on the briefing we just had on the water adjudication.
Okay. Shoot. Okay. So my apologies for not noticing earlier or remembering earlier that there is also an English language closed captioning option. However, just like the Spanish closed captioning option, you have to scan a QR code with your smartphone in order to access it instead of just there being the closed captioning right on the screen automatically, like is the case with the, County Board of Supervisors meeting. So I'm still not impressed. I'm still having to take off my mask for, all the people who need stuff like subtitles and they don't have smartphones that they can get QR codes on. But anyway, so I was actually trying to comment on the Berry Street and Arneal new housing developments there.
We've already ended that one.
Well,
Spencer, this is on the water adjudication. We just had a lengthy
I'm
briefing
sorry,
by Mr. Becerra. And
There are no other speakers.
okay.
Thank you. I appreciate your time this evening.
Any other council discussion before Mr. Becerra leaves?
No.
Nope.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Vile.
Could I make another public comment?
Not if you don't have a speaker card.
Would you like to submit one?
We will move
Thank
on
you.
to item N, automatic license plate readers. Commander Tennyson.
Mr. Mayor, may I just suggest respectfully to the chair, even if somebody didn't have a speaker card but still wanted to do a public comment on this item, that the chair consider recognizing them, even though they didn't have time to fill out a speaker card. So that would be my request
Defer
to
to
the
my
chair.
elder statesman this time. Come on up, Mr. Blois.
Thank you for referring to me as the elder.
I wasn't quick enough to go out and get
4 months.
card.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Doug Blois, oh my gosh, okay. Doug Blois, interested citizen. My question would be, oh, he's gone. Is the Oxnard Basin overdrafted? And is that on the basis of modeling or actual data? That would be my question.
See if we can get you
I
the
think
answer.
Chief Tennyson went to look for him.
Yeah.
Hello, welcome. Good to see you again.
They allowed me to do a speaker thing, so my question to you is the Oxnard Basin overdrafted, and is that on the analysis of the modeling or actual data?
I believe, from what I've seen, the Oxnard sub-basin is considered to be quite overdrafted. And I think it's both modeling and observation of data. I think the seawater intrusion has been identified for a long time. And I think that's sort of, with a coastal basin, that's usually considered a pretty good indication of overdraft. Basically, the groundwater has stopped pushing the seawater out and the seawater's coming in. There's been an enormous amount of technical analysis as well, and I think that technical analysis has shown an overdraft in Oxnard.
One other quick question.
I don't think we can.
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah, you
Thank
had your
you.
opportunity.
to have your question.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Now we will move on to item N, the automated license plate readers. Commander Tennyson.
Good evening, Mayor, council staff, and Camarillo community members who are attending here tonight or watching this meeting. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to spend a few minutes tonight providing this council and our community with an update on the Sheriff's Office and the Camarillo Police Department's use of automated license plate readers, and more specifically, the 25 readers that the city leases from Flock Safety. I'd like to begin by reaffirming that the Ventura County Sheriff's Office and me as your police chief remain committed to transparency, accountability, and maintaining public trust. This item is before you tonight because a proactive audit that I requested early last month revealed that images captured by our license plate readers were available for search by out-of-state law enforcement agencies for 1 month in the spring of 2025. Our agency has used ALPR technology for more than a decade. It's been around for even longer. It's been a critical investigative tool for us, helping us to locate suspect vehicles involved in major crimes, helping us to recover stolen vehicles, and to aid in missing persons investigations. The readers have directly contributed to significant case successes, including a gun store burglary, large-scale cargo theft investigation, follow-home theft, cash theft cases, and multiple homicide investigations. To briefly explain how the technology works, the readers capture an image of a license plate and the car it's attached to, along with the date and time that the image is captured. They do not provide us with any personal information about the vehicle owner's identity, their demographics, their address, or any other personal identifying information, unless that information is physically printed on the vehicle itself, like a business name or a phone number for that business. The images are stored for 1 year, and then they're permanently deleted. We place these readers along public roadways, strategically based on crime trends, the way crimes are committed, and where suspects are known to come from, among other factors. For example, the Camarillo outlets in Camarillo Town Center are where the overwhelming majority of our retail theft occurs. Our data shows that most offenders we arrest there do not live in the city of Camarillo. This is one reason readers are positioned along what we call the theft corridor of Ventura Boulevard from Springville to Lewis Road, and along routes into and out of our city. It's a common sense, data-driven approach to fighting crime. Months before Camarillo began leasing Flock information, the Sheriff's Office made a decision that our readers would not be searchable by any law enforcement agency outside the state of California, to include federal agencies. We proactively disabled the nationwide search feature in June of 2023. We controlled our data, and we determined who had access. That is what I reported to this council in 2023 when we first began leasing readers, and again in 2025 during the lease renewal process, because that is how our data was being managed. When the audit from last month revealed that our images were searchable by out-of-state agencies, we immediately engaged with Flock to understand the problem. We notified our allied agencies in Ventura County so they could conduct their own their own audits, and we reported the issue publicly through a media release from Sheriff Freihoff. Flock took responsibility for the issue we discovered. Flock, in the last few months, has implemented the following back-end safeguards to ensure this doesn't happen again. First, California agencies cannot share data out of state or with federal agencies. Second, federal agencies cannot discover or request data from California agencies. Third, federal agencies are not part of statewide or national lookup networks. Fourth, immigration-related and reproductive care-related searches are automatically blocked in California. Fifth, every search now requires a NIBRS-based offense type as justification for the search. Sixth, any changes to system settings are now permanently logged and retrievable. And last, Flock does not contract with the Department of Homeland Security and does not sell or share data with DHS agencies. Immediately after the audit, the Ventura County Sheriff's Office instituted our own daily audits of the entire system to ensure that no out-of-state or federal searches occur. The Sheriff Freihoff is committed to suspending the use of Flock immediately if such a search is discovered. We're also evaluating other vendors with a sharp focus on data security and reliability. We've been in contact with our allied agencies in Ventura County, and all but one of those agencies have taken the exact same approach that we have. Finally, I want to emphasize that license plate readers remain a highly effective tool in keeping crime low and keeping this community safe. They help us identify criminals quickly, help us make arrests, and build strong cases that we can submit to the district attorney. Using every tool legally available to us is what consistently makes Ventura County the safest large city in California. Sorry, the safest large county in California. Thank you for the time tonight, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you all might have.
Questions?
I have one.
Go ahead.
I'll try, Eric. In your opinion and the sheriff's opinion, is Flock still our best option?
At this time, Flock is still the best option we have for license plate readers.
Thank you.
Councilmember Santangelo.
Thank you. Are we considering other ALPR vendors?
Yes, we are. We're looking at other ALPR providers as we speak.
And what factors do we consider in evaluating those?
There's a number of factors, but primarily right now we're looking at data security. Obviously, with what we discovered last month, data security is at the top of the factors we consider. However, when it comes to aiding us in solving crimes, the analytical capabilities of whatever tool we use also has to be a top consideration. And how the analytical capabilities result in us being able to identify vehicles through geographic locations, using a tool called convoy analysis that allows us to search vehicles that might be following a victim vehicle who's later becomes a victim of a crime. Those kind of tools are critical for us to be able to use when we're doing analysis. And so that's also a significant factor that we consider.
Okay. And then finally, would switching vendors interrupt ongoing investigations?
There's a potential that it could. There will be a downtime if we end up switching a vendor. But again, we owe it to our community to consider other vendors. And if we do end up making a decision to switch, we will try and make it as seamless as possible.
Thank you. Those are my questions.
So I know this item came to us on October 7th of last year. I had quite a bit of questions then. I wanted to make sure that others had the opportunity to ask those questions. Councilmember Tremblay, I'm not sure if you had any. Okay, perfect. So the first question I had is you mentioned that when you found out that there was this breach of information, it was in the spring of 2025. Do we know exactly during what the time?
I do. The
The
exact time frame was from February 19th until March 19th. And the reason it stopped in March 19th is because Flock unilaterally made the decision to remove the ability for any California agency to have their data looked at outside the state of California. And they did that because of Senate Bill 34, which prohibits that.
Okay. And then after that, according to your audit, were you able to find any other breaches of information?
We did not.
Okay. And after you performed the audit, have you been able to find any other breaches? Because I know you're doing it on a daily basis, it sounds like.
That's correct. We have not had any other searches against our data from any agency outside the state of California.
Okay. And do you know if what specific type of data was involved? Was it only limited to the license plates and the timestamps, or did it include anything else?
So all we know right now is that if you imagine this as a vault full of license plate images, all we know is that the door of our vault was open that other agencies outside the state could look into. We don't know if they got a hit on any of their searches or if any data exchange occurred. All we know is that they were able to look at our data.
Okay. And do you know which agencies? We don't have that information.
We do know which agencies looked into our data, yes.
And reminding that included both federal
It
and state?
included federal and state, out-of-state agencies.
Okay. let's see here. I already asked you about whether there were any additional issues. I think the other question was, can you help explain what oversight measures are now in place, including the daily audits that you mentioned, to ensure that this doesn't happen again?
I think some of the most significant things that have been put in place have been the back-end audits, the tracking and safeguards that Flock implemented themselves. Our data, even if we had somebody who wanted to share data with an agency outside the state of California, we can't go into our settings and do it now. We're just unable to check the box that opens it up. So that was done on March 19th of last year, and that's why our data was shut off from being viewed from other agencies. And I think that's probably the most effective tool that has been put in place. But the other safeguards that Flock put in place that will block certain searches involving certain keywords, safeguards that require agencies to use NIBRS-based offenses to justify their searches. So, for example, if someone were to search data and search for immigration, well, that's not a NIBRS-based offense. So that can't happen anymore. And then I will tell you, our daily audits are really significant. If at any moment there's one search on our data from any agency outside the state of California, we're done. The program will be suspended, and we won't be using Flock anymore.
Can you briefly discuss what NLBR is?
What an ALPR is?
NIBRS?
Oh, NIBRS, I'm sorry. It's a national incident-based reporting system. So for decades, we reported crime through the Uniform Crime Reports, or UCRs. 2 years ago, we transitioned to reporting to the FBI using National Incident-Based Reporting System. And so the offense categories are the different crimes that can occur through NIBRS. And so we use NIBRS now and the crime categories to report our justifications for our searches.
Okay. And as you're looking for other vendors, what standards around data security and privacy protection and transparency are the most important when you're doing these types of research?
Well, I'll tell you, all data storage now really works in the cloud. And so ensuring that any data storage is CGIS compliant is important. Some of the biggest vendors out there have been operating in this environment for many years. And so we look at their past track record. Look, anybody's data can be breached. We see this happening all over. But we have some entities that have a track record of ensuring that their data is secure, ensuring that everything is CGIS compliant with how they operate. And those are the things that we look for and will look for as we look for alternative vendors.
Okay, thank you. And then you touched on, my last question, you touched on why this is an important tool for law enforcement and public safety. Are you able to provide us go in a little more detail on some of those examples?
Yes, I can. I'll just start with one of the most simple things that we use Flock's ALPRs for, and that is for detecting vehicles that have been reported stolen. So we get a download every few minutes from the state of California that shows us any vehicle that's been reported throughout the state to be a stolen vehicle. And that's automatically uploaded into our license plate reader system, so that if any one of those vehicles that's been reported stolen throughout the state of California passes our reader, we get a notification in our real-time crime center. Our real-time crime center operator immediately checks out the image, verifies that the plate is correct. They run the plate through CLETS to ensure that that is absolutely the stolen vehicle, and they report it out to our deputy sheriffs in the field. In 2025, we recovered 47 stolen vehicles just through license plate reads. In 2024, I think we recovered around 40 stolen vehicles just through license plate reads. Those are the simple cases that we've had leads generated or solved. I can say that we had a homicide in Camarillo about 4 weeks ago on a Saturday. And we were provided by an eyewitness a description of a vehicle, a maroon sedan, one person said, and the other person said a maroon SUV with a different license plate, not from the state of California. Within 8 minutes, we were able to look through our license plate readers and identify the suspect vehicle in this case, obtain the license plate, enter it in as a hot list so that any agency could find this vehicle. And in fact, we were able to find the vehicle very quickly. We got in a pursuit with it. We lost it. The CHP was able to pick it up. They lost it. Los Angeles PD was able to pick it up, and it came to a resolution. But license plate readers were critical in just that most recent case we've had. Another one from here in Camarillo, it's a couple of years ago now, but the burglary of the Camarillo gun store was used, 2 stolen vehicles were used. One vehicle was stolen in Thousand Oaks and one vehicle was stolen in Camarillo. They drove to the gun store in a stolen vehicle. They rammed repeatedly to get through the security door. 4 people got out of the stolen vehicle and made off with about 65 firearms from the Camarillo gun store. They jumped into a second stolen vehicle that was at the Camarillo gun store, and they fled in that second stolen vehicle. That vehicle was ditched out on Pleasant Valley Road, but they were picked up by somebody. We used license plate readers to check the area in Thousand Oaks where the first vehicle was stolen, and to check the area in Camarillo where the second stolen vehicle was ditched. And we discovered a common car between the two, a common license plate between the two. It ended up in helping us work with the ATF to identify 6 subjects and make arrests. They were responsible for 9 gun store burglaries throughout Southern California where over 300 firearms were stolen. These are bigger cases, but we have leads generated and we have arrests made weekly in Camarillo because of the license plate readers. And there is no doubt in my mind that Camarillo is a safer place because we have license plate readers to help us generate leads and help us identify criminals.
And on that same note, do you also utilize that data for children that go missing or people?
Less children that go missing, and I mean, if we have an Amber Alert and a child is taken, we would use license plate readers. If we have missing adults who are missing and a vehicle's gone, we'll use license plate readers, and we absolutely have had success in those cases as well.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I think everybody's had a turn. I'm not going to ask any. Madam Clerk, any public comments?
Yes, we have 6 speakers. The first speaker is Joseph Dobzinski, followed by Spencer Ritchie, and after that is Sarah Wozilski.
Hi, my name is Joseph Dobzinski Jr. I'm a resident of Camarillo, and we reported on this breach back in October of 2025, and it took 4 or 5 months to actually take a look at anything, it seems. And instead of kind of looking into it immediately, you guys passed 19 more cameras on consent after a very lengthy discussion before consent passed, which included an education about how flock works. We already know how flock works. What wasn't said in Commander Tennyson's notes is that 299 searches were made for immigration enforcement specifically, which is a clear violation of SB 54. If at the best, it is a clear lapse in oversight at VCSO and flock, and at worst, it's a wink and a nod for collaboration via plausible deniability. I'm getting tired of coming here and talking about things and being written off until it turns out that it is the case. No amount of surveillance is worth the crimes that are being solved at this point. You could solve a lot of crimes as well by giving us all ankle monitors and setting up checkpoints everywhere we go, but no one would agree to that. No one in their right mind would agree to that. This data is also part of public record because it's used for public purposes. In Washington State, they've said that all of this ALPR data is accessible if somebody puts in a public records request, which means my journeys around Camarillo eventually can be just downloaded and taken through a public records request. Hold a town hall about whether we should still have ALPRs or not. I understand that they help with that, but see how many of the community actually come out and say that they're willing to trade their privacy for security. And I guarantee you there will be way more people who say shut them off rather than how can we do this safer. In 1755, Benjamin Franklin said, "Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety." You guys, like those founding fathers, please heed the words, shut them off, and give us our privacy back in the public sphere.
Spencer Ritchie. Sarah Wilzinski.
Hi, my name is Sarah Wilczewski. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. We came to you guys with concerns back in October, and now we're here. I appreciate this report. Thank you. I hope that we can move forward with transparency on any decision that is made regarding ALPRs and whether to continue with Flock. I hope that we can have a town hall to discuss whether the community wants to move forward with Flock and continue this. And I would just request that anything decided gets put to public comment and is treated with transparency. Thank you.
Derek Porter, followed by Danae Lassen.
Good evening, Mayor Tennyson, City Council members. I had some prepared remarks, but honestly, I kind of like what was already said pretty well. I have a lot of practical things I could say about, why the data shows this or that, but ultimately, I think I'm not an activist. This is my second time coming here. I'm just a resident. And the second I found out about what Flock and just ALPRs do generally, I was horrified. Just the potential that it has, just the slow creep of surveillance in our lives as Americans generally. Like, it's just a loophole of the Fourth Amendment. If the government set up cameras all over the city, then it'd be illegal. But because an NGO does it and we subscribe to their data, we get that loophole. And I appreciate the audit, and I know the benefits that it can serve. I had a friend disagree with me on this as well. He lives in St. Louis, where the crime is terrible, and ALPRs I'm sure help a little bit. But like what was said already, at what cost? There's just a slow creep. In 20, 30 years down the road from now, if we don't draw a line in the sand where we are at right now, it's just going to get worse. And I know that there's cities around the country canceling their contracts. Not just that, but they're being vandalized. And I don't know exactly, if we want to think of it from a money perspective, like, there's a chance that could continue with people vandalizing, costing the city money, these cameras, once more people become aware of this issue. I know there was a big Super Bowl issue recently where Ring cameras came out and said they wanted to scan for people's pets, and the country freaked out, and Ring canceled their agreement with Flock as well. Probably on the back end they still have it, but at least they're recognizing the public recognition of that nobody wants these. And if you guys represent us, then I would just like to cast my vote in that direction as well. Thank you.
Danae Lassen. Bev Dransfield.
Good evening. Thank you, Commander Tennyson, for the presentation. And I thank you for taking the daily audit. As other speakers have said, it is disappointing that we have gotten to this point, especially with concerns raised back in October. My husband, Corey, I know, has written more about this and has extensive knowledge in it. Unfortunately, I'm not as educated about it, but just on the surface level, having many concerns and knowing that it's greater than what we know. I know this is in place, so I'm trying to think, how do we move forward? One thing that I wonder, and perhaps this is something for the city attorney, and perhaps this is at a greater level, even at the state level, because of these violations that have occurred with Flock, but what are the ramifications that Flock is doing, with the contract and that sort of thing? How are we being compensated in terms of the contract that we have with them when this has been broken? I know you had mentioned one of the other agencies that has not taken this similar actions, which I believe is Oxnard Police Department, which was raised, Commander Tennyson, Councilmember Tremblay, as you saw in that discussion. They had 2 instances out of the 5 million, and OPD opted to suspend their contract because they are working very hard to rebuild or even build the public trust So that's something I invite you to have that discussion, to look into that more. I understand that being part of VCSO is different since we don't have our own police department. But again, it goes back to transparency. It goes back to previous requests of having an oversight, one for the sheriff that has been made as a request to the county Board of Supervisors, and also oversight for all the contract cities for their contracts with the sheriff's department. Because again, we need accountability, we need transparency, we need that oversight. People don't feel heard. You have public comments here, we have people who have come up and they're concerned, and it feels dismissed. So again, inviting for the town hall, and I'm glad that Derek brought up the ring instance. That's something I wanted to highlight as well. Flock does not have our trust. Of course, all of these things can be breached, but it has happened time and time again with Flock. So if ALPRs are something that the city chooses to move forward with, being very critical of who that vendor is, and ensuring, and again, that transparency, and making sure that the public is involved and actually heard and brought forth in that decision making. Thank you.
No more council discussion.
I actually have another question, Mayor, if that's okay. Chief Tennyson, who initiated the self-audit in Ventura County?
I did.
Okay, so you did the self-audit, or you initiated it, or can you tell me more about that process?
I requested that our crime analysis unit conduct an audit of the system.
Okay, thank you so much.
Hearing nothing else, that doesn't require any action. Did you have something, Mr. Tremblay?
No,
Okay.
I just thought it was time to comment.
Okay.
So I'm going to comment. I think that ALPRs have a significant role to play in law enforcement investigations. I support their intent. I support their deployment. But that said, the program has got to be in compliance with state law. I had been assured until mid-February that there was such compliance and that ALPR data had never been shared with any agency outside the state of California, and that turned out not to be true, and I'm very unhappy about it. That said, the access to the ALPR data last year and the noncompliance with state law appears to be entirely the fault of the vendor, of Flock. It is not the fault, I'm convinced, it is not the fault of the Ventura County Sheriff's Office, which to its credit, self-reported, self-audited its own data and its own operations and then reported it to the public. I think the steps that Ventura County Sheriff's Office is taking are responsible. They include the daily audits of the system, and they have my full support. But that said, I also encourage the Sheriff's Office to look at vendors other than Flock so this issue is avoided in the future. Bottom line, the program must comply with state law. And I'll just piggyback on top of what our last speaker said. What our last speaker said, as I heard, is if you decide to move forward with ALPRs, be critical of the vendor. I agree with that. In my view, we should continue to use the ALPRs, but we need to look at the vendor. I'm satisfied with the steps that the Sheriff's Office is taking right now, and I want to see that continue, and look at other vendors in addition to Flock. So I just wanted to be sure that I set forth, my views on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Well, I'm going to say ditto. I think absolutely very unhappy with what happened here. Data is very, very important. And if they do look at another vendor, that it's got to be done the right way here. And what Councilmember Tremblay has said here, I agree 100% with that. We can do better, and we must do better.
Thank you, Mayor. So I too agree with what was said about the dissatisfaction with Flock, and I do acknowledge that the information that we originally received is different than what we understand now, and to no fault of you, but to that of Flock. I think what is important to note as well is that Chief Tennyson, it sounds like you're the one who initiated the self-audit, and then other agencies were involved. And I think that you brought that forward. The sheriffs brought that forward publicly. And I thought that is indicative of being forthcoming, and the intention of our city is also to be transparent with our community on what occurred. I think that trust and relationship building are really integral to public safety. And I understand, and I've seen how some of the federal policing tactics have unfortunately contributed to some of the erosion of certain communities, which is why probably some folks are concerned about this. I understand that some members of our community may feel that their trust was impacted by this incident. At the same time, I also think it's important to recognize the value of this tool and how they can help provide a safer community. I heard that they help law enforcement address these crimes not only throughout the Camarillo theft corridor, but throughout in assisting, possibly locating missing people and solving other types of crimes. And so I think there are real benefits that are added to the public safety. So for that reason, I do believe there is value in using this technology. However, given the multiple issues that have been raised, I think my opinion would also be to explore other options, which sounds like you're already doing. And I'm glad that you're already taking those steps in the right direction, because ultimately our responsibility is to balance effective public safety tools with transparency, accountability, and the trust of the community that we serve. So that is all that I have on this.
I'll be short. I think that ALPRs are an important tool in crime fighting, and that's regardless of the vendor that we use. I am disappointed in Flock. I share the disappointment with my colleagues and yours, because I believe that you were disappointed as well. I commend you for the proactive audit, for looking into this, and I commend you for going forward, and VCSO as a whole going forward with the daily audits. As I said, I think ALPRs serve a purpose, and I also hope that you, and I do like the terminology, critically evaluate other vendors. That's all I have.
Thank you. I'm going to save my voice. I'm not going to ask any questions. Ditto. Madam City Clerk, do we have any speakers from the earlier session that did not speak?
There are no speakers.
With that, we will come to the end of our agenda. We'll recess back to closed session, and I'll ask the city attorney if she has anything to report.
I guess I'll just indicate, Mayor and Council, that we did conduct closed session on item A regarding the OPV coalition litigation and one of the anticipated litigation matters. But there's no reportable action on those two items, and then we can move back into closed session for the remaining item.
And Mr. Kildee has a request to adjourn in the memory of Al Fox, so take it away.
Yeah, I'll start off talking about Al Fox, and he was an incredible Camarillan. And Al gave back his time, talent, and treasure to our city. And he was on, I believe, the Camarillo Water Board, Leisure Village. He had a very successful business in Leisure Village, selling homes. And he was also a special districts representative as well. So my voice is kind of going, but he epitomized what volunteerism is in Camarillo. And my condolences go out to his family. And we're going to miss Al. To know Al was to love Al. And he was a great guy. So he had a long life, incredibly successful life. And Godspeed, my friend.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Thank you. We are adjourned.
Yeah.